Yo, what is up YouTube? This is SS99 here, and today we'll be talking about a hat deck. Now before I get started, I want to apologize for not posting videos as much as I usually do, but I have family that visited my house this weekend, or this week, so I'm going to be making at least a video every other day. I usually make one every day, but I haven't been doing that recently, so I apologize for that. But enough for that, let's just go ahead and talk about this hat deck. And for those who don't know, hat is short for hands, artifacts, and trap tricks. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the profile. So for this deck, I run 3 Moral Tax, or as a lot of people like to call it, the blue artifact, and then 1 Beagle Tack, or red artifact, and 2 Scythe, or black artifact. That's all the artifacts. Now the only hands we run 2 Fire Hand and Ice Hand. And for the trap tricks, we run 3 Myrmeleo and 2 Diania. And that's all the monsters. Now for the spells, we run 3 MST and 2 Artifact Ignition, along with 1 Double Cyclone, 3 Pot of Duality, 1 Pot of Dichotomy. I can never pronounce that. Dichotomy, something like that. And 1 Soul Charge. And for the traps, we run 3 Artifact Sanctums, 2 Breakthrough Skills, 2 Mirror Force, 1 Solemn Warning, 1 Black Horn of Heaven, 2 Trap Trick Whole Nightmares, 1 Compulse, 1 Bottomless, and 1 Torrential. And that's pretty much the main deck. Now for the side deck, I run Degusto Amaral, Honor Arc, Exciton Knight, Abyss Dweller, Cowboy, Mace Stroke, Korn, Diamond Dyer, Rhapsody and Berserk, Ragna Zero, Pleiades, Tyrus, Artifact Dorinda, something like that, Volcasaurus, and Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger. For the side deck, I run Double Maxi, Thunder King, Ally of Justice Cycle Reader, 2 Dyna Pachycephalo. You know what this guy is. System Down, Overworked, Needle Sealing, and 2 Debunk. Before I continue on talking about this deck, I just want to point out that this side deck is different from what I usually run. I don't know if you guys noticed. I mean, there are a couple of things that are similar, but I usually have the same, or at least a really similar side deck, but this one's extremely different, and I'll get to that in just a second. Right now, let's talk about the main deck. Alright, so the reason why I run like 2 of each hands instead of 3 like some people do is because every time I run 3 of each, I always draw into multiple. So it's just a bad luck thing. So I like to run 2 of each hand just because that's where I'm comfortable at. Okay, now let's talk about the artifacts. The artifacts will make this deck pretty sick, and yeah, they're pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. So basically, the point of these artifacts is they're monsters, but you can set them in your spell and trap card zone for those who are not familiar with that. And once they get destroyed, then usually on your opponent's turn, they get an effect based off of well, their effect depends on the monster. Like this guy allows you to destroy a face-up card your opponent controls once he's special summoned. So once you destroy it, you can special summon them, and then pop a card on your opponent's side of the field that's face up. And this guy has a similar effect, only he destroys 2 face downs. And this card allows your opponent not to special summon any monsters from their extra deck. So pretty sick artifacts. I mean, some people don't run Scythe, but I like Scythe. He's pretty cool. You can actually replace these for a 3rd Fire Hand and Ice Hand if you need to, but I wouldn't. This is just my personal preference. And also, it's just really good to have more level 5 monsters to run in this deck, so you can actually go into those rank 5 plays. Now, as for Myrmeleo and Diania, or whatever, the reason why I run 3 of these, well, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, some people run only 1 Trap Hole Nightmare, but I run 2 because you have 3 Myrmeleo, and I like to search every time I have this guy. So there are some times when you have drawn to these, and it's not bad, But if I like open with 3 of these for some reason, I would like to search for some traps. So that's the only reason why I run 2 trap tricks hold trap hole nightmare. And Diania is really awesome. You can special summon any trap tricks monster from your graveyard, and once this guy is special summoned, you can destroy a spell or trap card on your opponent's side of the field. And that's an instant rank 4 Xyz, so you can go to Exciton Knight, Honor Arc, or whatever you need. Whatever you need to win the duel. As for the spells, MST is just staple. You don't run Book of Moon and Darkhold because you have enough popping and trolling in this deck, so. Plus you want to make sure that you can actually destroy your artifacts, that way you can set them off. And Artifact Ignition pretty much does the same exact thing as MST does. Only difference is if it's destroyed by your opponent's card effect, then your opponent can't do their next battle phase. So it's like an MST on crack pretty much, but only for artifacts. Now as for Double Cyclone, this is pretty much self-explanatory. This is a double MST, but you have to select a spell trap that you control and one that your opponent controls. So in most cases, you want to pop an artifact while you pop something on your opponent's side of the field. That way your artifacts can go off. But you kind of have to use this wisely. I mean, there's a reason why you only run one, because in most cases I don't use this. But when you do, it's going to be awesome. Now, Pot of Duality is a staple. This is pretty much just a dig through your deck. And Pot of Dichotomy, or however you say that. You don't usually see this a lot in competitive play, but this deck can actually run it because you have to have 3 different types in order to activate this effect. But there's a lot of different types in this deck. Like you have Fairy, Pyro, Aqua, Insect, and Plant. There's a lot of types in this deck, so the odds of you having 3 different types in here are pretty high, especially after you activate the hands. Like if you have Fire Hand and you activate Ice Hand, and Remelio goes to the graveyard, you can activate this card if you ever draw into it. It's a pretty decent card for this deck, but you only run one because more than one's dead. And also, this just makes sure that you can get more artifact plays, because if you do get a good hand, you will go through your artifacts really, really fast. Soul Charge, I don't really have to explain too much, but like I'm feeling like this is starting to become staple in most decks now, because it's a really good card. Like you can special summon as many monsters as possible. Only downside is you have to pay 1,000 life points for each. Well, I wouldn't say pay, you lose 1,000 life points for each, and you can't conduct a battle phase. But it just helps you, like if you have 2 artifacts in your graveyard, you can go for another rank 5 play, or you can even do 2 level 4 monsters. So it's a pretty good card, especially in artifacts. Now, as for the Artifact Sanctum, now this card is busted. If my memory serves me correct, this is actually the most pricey card in the deck. It's cost $27, where the artifacts don't cost more than like $1 or whatever. And yeah, like you can special summon this once you activate it, but if your opponent destroys this card with a card effect, you can destroy a card on the field. So you can still activate that in response. Special summon an artifact, and then use that effect to pop an opponent's card on the field. Just way too good. Now, I'm starting to take a like with Breakthrough Skill. I'm having a weird, I'm thinking that this is actually going to be better than Fiendish Chain, in my opinion. But that's the reason why I run that over Fiendish in this deck. And of course, Mirror Force it's staple. Solemn Warning staple. Compulse Trap Hole, Bottomless Trap Hole, and Torrential are staple. And I've already explained these. And now the reason why I run Black Horn of Heaven is because you do have a bad matchup against Geargia in this deck, because this deck requires popping your own field in order to special summon, and you don't have a lot of protection traps in this deck. So if your opponent goes off with Geargia Karkari, you're pretty much screwed. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole main deck purpose. Now for the extra deck, most of this I don't have to explain. Well, Degusso Amaral, you do go through monsters quite a bit in this deck, so you want to make sure you don't run out of your sources. Honor Arc, Exciton Knight, Dweller, Cowboy, Maestro, Corrin, and Diamond Dyer. I don't have to explain; those are pretty much your staples. Berserk is just just my personal preference, and Ragnar Zero is really good for matchups against like Fire Fist or sometimes Harpies because of his effect. It's really good. For rank 5s, Tyrus and Volcasaurus are pretty much staple now in any like level 5 deck. Pleiades is pretty much staple in any level 5 light deck. And this is an artifact. I don't really have to explain this too much. And Gaia Chargers, because you run a lot of rank 5s, and once Tyrus becomes dead, you can just special summon Gaia. Now I'll talk about the side deck. Now the side deck, generally I run like Gozen Match, and what else do I run? I run Rivalry. I run 2 Maxine Thunder King in every deck, and Overworked in some decks. But I also usually run D-Fissure, and well, long story short, a lot of those side deck cards do shut this deck down as well. So if you have Gozen Match, you have 4 different attributes in here. You have 5 or 6 different types in this deck. So Gozen Match and Rivalry will shut this deck down. And also D-Fissure will shut this deck down because most of these effects from the artifacts in the hands involve them going to the graveyard. And D-Fissure banishes them. So that's the reason why this side deck's really different from my other decks. Now, let's just go ahead and talk about why I prefer these. So, Cycle Reader, I run him because of Bujins. You can discard him, and you can banish 2 light monsters from your opponent's graveyard. Pretty sick. Now, Dyna, neither player can special summon monsters. This is pretty much for Geargia, and whenever he's flipped, you can destroy all special summon monsters. So, this is for the Geargia matchup, and so is System Down. System Down's pretty much just so your opponent can't get their Geargia back once they use them. Overworked, that's for Harpies and Fire Fist mainly, and sometimes Bujins if they have Tinky on the field. Needle Sealing, this is for a lot of things like, Ghost Tricks and Geargia. I mean, most of the side decking is for Geargia because I have actually used this deck against a Geargia deck and my life sucked. So yeah, you want to have all this side decking stuff against Geargia. Now, Debunk, this is for mainly Bujins, but you never know when you're also going to be up against Blackwings or, say, a deck that runs Honest. So Debunk really comes in handy for multiple things, but it's mainly for the Bujin matchup. So pretty much this side deck is mainly focused around Bujins and a lot of Geargia and a little bit of everything else. And that's pretty much the deck, guys. Thanks for watching. I will try to have another video uploaded as soon as I can, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.